Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something pretty mind-blowing. Engineering biology. You're interested in the future of science and tech,
Hmm.
so I think you'll find this fascinating. We're going to explore a 2024 UK government survey
Okay.
all about public perception of engineering biology, what it is,
Yeah.
what it could do, and how much people trust it. The survey reveals something pretty intriguing. Tons of people are comfortable with emerging tech,
Right.
but hardly anyone knows what engineering biology actually is.
Hmm.
That's the knowledge gap we're going to unpack today.
Yeah, it's true. The survey paints this picture of a UK public that's very comfortable with things like smartphones and contactless payments.
Right.
But when it comes to explaining what engineering biology is, only 11% of respondents could even offer a partial explanation.
Wow.
This means that even though people are embracing new technologies, there's a real need for clear communication and education
Yeah.
around engineering biology. Otherwise, you might be using products without truly understanding their origins.
So we're starting with this almost paradoxical situation. High comfort levels with tech in general,
Right.
but very low understanding of this particular field. But before we even get into engineering biology itself,
Mm.
the survey gives us some interesting context
Mm.
about what's on people's minds in the UK right now.
Yes. This survey highlights the top concerns of UK adults. And it's no surprise that the cost of living dominates,
Yes.
followed by immigration and health. This context is important because it helps us understand public priorities in relation to new technologies. It's like asking, okay, these are the things people are worried about right now.
Hmm.
How does this new technology, engineering biology, fit into that landscape? And could it even offer solutions to some of these concerns?
That's a great point. It's not just about the science in a vacuum. It's about how this technology intersects with people's everyday lives and anxieties.
Exactly.
So let's dive into those potential applications. The survey outlines 5 key areas where engineering biology could be used, starting with healthcare. I know a lot of people get excited about the potential for new medicines, personalized therapies, maybe even cures for currently incurable diseases.
And you're right, the survey shows a high level of optimism about those possibilities, but there's more to it than just healthcare. Engineering biology also holds immense potential in agriculture and food production, which is a particularly interesting area given the survey's findings.
Okay.
Think about crops engineered to be more resistant to disease, to require less water, or to have enhanced nutritional value. We could potentially see more food, better food, and sustainable food, which is a big deal, especially with the growing global population and concerns about food security.
More food, better food, sustainable food. It all sounds pretty incredible. But I'm curious, given those anxieties about the cost of living, how would people feel about the potential costs associated with these advancements? Would those benefits be accessible to everyone, or would they create further inequalities?
That's a crucial question, and one that the survey doesn't explicitly address.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to consider as this technology develops. Who benefits? Who gets left behind? And how do we ensure equitable access to these advancements? But let's move on to the third area the survey highlights: low carbon fuels.
Okay.
This is critical for combating climate change, and we're talking about using engineering biology to produce biofuels that are cleaner and more renewable than traditional fossil fuels.
Okay, so tackling climate change head on. I'm starting to see why people are paying attention to this. It seems like engineering biology has the potential to address some pretty major global challenges.
Yeah.
But the survey goes even further, right? It also explores the potential for recycling natural waste using engineering biology.
Exactly. Imagine breaking down plastic waste or converting organic waste into valuable products. It's about achieving a truly circular economy, turning what we currently consider trash into treasure. And this is actually the application that resonated most strongly with respondents. They saw the most potential for positive impact in this area.
That's really interesting. It seems like people are really looking for solutions to our environmental problems. And they see engineering biology as the potential key to unlocking those solutions. But I have to admit, even with all these potential benefits, the idea of using engineering biology to manipulate natural processes still makes me wonder about potential downsides. Are we opening Pandora's box here?
Those concerns are completely understandable, and they're reflected in the survey data as well. It's not all sunshine and roses. While there's a lot of excitement about the potential benefits,
Right.
there are also significant concerns, particularly when it comes to using engineering biology in agriculture and food production, which is the fifth area the survey explores.
Okay.
Think genetically modified crops, lab-grown meat,
And the like?
That's what I was getting at. Messing with the food supply can feel pretty risky, even if the intended outcome is positive. I'm not surprised people are a bit hesitant there. It's more than just hesitation, though. The survey found a noticeable dip in comfort levels, specifically when it comes to food applications of engineering biology. And this is where it gets really fascinating, because it highlights a deeper tension between technological advancement and personal values. You might be comfortable with a smartphone, but are you comfortable with a genetically modified apple? Where do we draw the line? What are the ethical considerations?
Those are big questions, and I think they're at the heart of this whole discussion. So far, we've got this picture of a public that's excited about the potential of engineering biology, but also wary of the possible downsides, especially when it comes to food. But the survey didn't just ask about applications. It also delved into people's perceptions of these applications, right?
You're absolutely right. And what we see is a curious paradox. Despite the low awareness we talked about earlier, the vast majority of people believe that engineering biology would be useful in all 5 areas.
So even if they don't fully understand the science behind it, they instinctively sense that it could be beneficial. That's pretty remarkable.
It really is. And it suggests that there's a foundation of trust there, a belief that this technology can be used for good. But of course, that trust comes with conditions.
Okay, let's unpack those conditions. What are people looking for when it comes to products made with engineering biology? What are their top priorities?
Well, across the board. Regardless of the specific application, the top priority for people is safety. This means they want to know that products made with engineering biology are safe for consumption, for use, for the environment. They're not just blindly embracing the technology, they're being thoughtful about the potential risks. That emphasis on safety is definitely reassuring. It shows that people are approaching this new technology with a healthy dose of caution, not just jumping on the bandwagon, but safety is really just the starting point. The survey also revealed a strong desire for transparency. People want to know what's in the products they're using, how they're made, and what the potential risks are.
That makes sense. It's about feeling empowered to make informed decisions, not just being told, don't worry, it's safe.
Right.
People want to understand the why behind the safety claims.
Exactly. And that's where clear labeling comes in. The survey found overwhelming support for the idea that products made using engineering biology should be clearly labeled.
Okay.
You should be able to look at a product and know right away whether it was made using these techniques. No hiding, no ambiguity.
So it's about giving consumers the information they need to make choices that align with their values, whether they're concerned about GMOs, animal welfare, environmental impact, or something else entirely. It sounds like it goes even deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's not just about being informed consumers, it's about being involved citizens.
You've hit the nail on the head. The survey highlighted a strong belief that the public should have a say in how engineering biology is developed and applied. It's not just about scientists and policymakers making decisions behind closed doors. It's about involving the public in a meaningful way.
I can see why that would be important. Engineering biology has the potential to impact so many aspects of our lives.
Right.
It only makes sense that people want to have a voice in shaping its trajectory. But how do you actually translate that desire for involvement into concrete action? What would public engagement in this field look like in practice?
That's a great question, and it's something that experts are still grappling with. It could involve things like public consultations, citizen science initiatives, open forums for dialogue, and educational outreach programs.
Okay.
It's about creating opportunities for two-way communication, where scientists and policymakers are listening to public concerns, and the public has a chance to learn about the science and weigh in on the ethical considerations.
That makes me think back to those initial concerns the survey highlighted: the cost of living, immigration, health. If the public is actively involved in shaping the development of engineering biology, perhaps we can steer it towards addressing these pressing issues, making sure it benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. It's about aligning this powerful technology with societal values and priorities, making sure that innovation serves the common good, not just corporate interests. But let's not forget that the survey also revealed a significant level of optimism about the future of engineering biology.
Yeah, even with those concerns,
Yeah.
people seem genuinely excited about the possibilities.
Yeah.
Do you think that optimism is warranted?
Well, when asked to rate the potential impact of engineering biology on science in the next 10 years, respondents gave it an average score of 7.1 out of 10. That's a pretty strong endorsement.
Wow.
Nearly three-quarters of those surveyed gave it a score of 6 or above, indicating a generally positive outlook. And I think that optimism is fueled by a recognition that engineering biology isn't just about tweaking existing products or processes. It's about opening up entirely new possibilities.
It's about rewriting the rules of what's possible, right? Imagine a future where we can engineer bacteria to clean up oil spills, or create drought-resistant crops that can thrive in a changing climate, or develop personalized medicine tailored to your unique genetic makeup. Those are just a few examples of what engineering biology could achieve.
Exactly. And that's why I think this field has captured the public imagination. It's about solving problems that have seemed intractable for so long. But it's also about dreaming big, envisioning a future where we can harness the power of biology to create a healthier, more sustainable, and more equitable world.
But of course, those dreams come with responsibilities. We've talked about the need for safety, transparency, and public engagement. Are there any other key considerations we should keep in mind as we navigate this new frontier?
One crucial aspect that often gets overlooked is the potential for unintended consequences.
Okay.
Engineering biology involves manipulating complex biological systems, and it's impossible to predict with absolute certainty how those interventions will play out in the long run.
So it's that classic butterfly effect scenario. A seemingly small change in one area could have ripple effects throughout the entire system, with unforeseen outcomes. I imagine that's where the need for robust risk assessment comes in.
Absolutely. We need to carefully evaluate the potential risks of each application, not just in the short term, but over the long haul. And we need to develop mitigation strategies to address those risks. This requires a precautionary approach, recognizing that we're dealing with powerful tools that demand a high level of responsibility.
That sense of responsibility extends beyond the scientific community, though, right? It's a societal conversation, a shared responsibility.
Precisely. We need to move beyond the traditional model of science first, ethics later, and integrate ethical considerations into every stage of the research and development process. And that requires open and ongoing dialogue between scientists, policymakers, ethicists, and the public.
This deep dive has really illuminated the complex landscape of public opinion surrounding engineering biology. We've seen a mixture of excitement, apprehension, hope, and caution. But it's clear that this is a conversation that's just beginning.
And that's why it's so important for you, as an informed listener, to engage in this dialogue, ask questions, seek out diverse perspectives, and make your voice heard. The future of engineering biology will be shaped by the choices we make today.
We've talked a lot about the potential benefits and risks of engineering biology, the need for transparency and public engagement, and the ethical considerations that come with this powerful technology. But I'm curious, what about the people who aren't on board? The survey didn't just focus on those who are excited about engineering biology. It also looked at the folks who are hesitant or even opposed to it. What are their concerns, and how do we address them?
That's a really important point. Understanding the concerns of those who are uncomfortable with engineering biology is crucial if we want to have a truly inclusive and productive conversation about its future. And what's interesting is that the survey didn't just lump all those folks into a single category. It actually dug deeper to try to understand the reasons behind their discomfort, because not comfortable can mean a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
It could be about safety concerns, ethical dilemmas, religious beliefs, or even just a general distrust of new technologies.
And that makes sense. It's about getting beyond those surface-level reactions and really understanding the underlying values and beliefs that shape people's perceptions of this technology. So what did the survey reveal? What are some of the main reasons people give for being uneasy about engineering biology?
One of the most common concerns, especially when it comes to applications in agriculture and food, is the perceived unnaturalness of the technology. There's this sense that we're tampering with nature, crossing boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. And that can lead to anxieties about unintended consequences, disrupting natural ecosystems, or even playing God, so to speak.
I could see where that concern is coming from. It's
Yeah.
about respecting the natural world and recognizing that we're part of a complex web of life, not separate from it. But I also wonder if part of that anxiety stems from a lack of understanding about how engineering biology actually works. Maybe if people had a clearer grasp of the science, they'd be less likely to see it as this scary Frankensteinian endeavor.
You're absolutely right. Education and outreach are essential here. We need to demystify this field, explain the science in clear and accessible terms, and show that engineering biology isn't about recklessly manipulating nature, but rather about harnessing the power of biology in a controlled and responsible way.
Okay.
Think of it as working with nature, not against it,
That reframing is crucial, I think. It's about shifting the narrative from one of domination and control to one of collaboration and stewardship. But even with a better understanding of the science, I imagine some people would still have concerns about potential risks
Right.
and unintended consequences.
And those concerns are completely valid. We've already talked about the butterfly effect, the idea that even small changes can have ripple effects throughout a system. And when we're talking about manipulating biological systems,
Yeah.
which are inherently complex and interconnected, those risks become even more significant.
So it's not just about doing the science, it's about doing the science safely and ethically.
Yeah.
And that requires rigorous risk assessment, robust safety protocols, and a willingness to acknowledge and address potential downsides.
Exactly. And that's where transparency and regulation play a crucial role. People need to know that there are systems in place to monitor these developments, identify potential risks, and mitigate those risks. It's about building trust and demonstrating that we're not just rushing headlong into this new world without careful consideration of the potential consequences.
So it's about moving forward with both enthusiasm and caution, recognizing the incredible potential of engineering biology, while acknowledging the need for safeguards and ethical oversight. But I imagine there are also concerns that go beyond these general anxieties about safety and risk. Are there any specific worries related to different applications of engineering biology?
Absolutely. And the survey highlights a few key areas of concern. In healthcare, for example, people worry about the ethical implications of genetic engineering, the potential for creating designer babies, or exacerbating existing health inequalities.
Those are definitely weighty concerns. The idea of using engineering biology to alter human traits raises a whole host of ethical questions. Who decides which traits are desirable and which are not? Who has access to these technologies? And how do we prevent them from being used to further marginalize certain groups?
These are questions that require deep and thoughtful consideration. And it's not just about scientists and ethicists debating these issues in academic journals. It's about having these conversations in public forums, involving diverse voices and perspectives, and ensuring that ethical considerations are woven into the fabric of research and development.
That brings us back to the importance of public engagement, which we discussed earlier. It's not just about informing the public about the science. It's about giving people a voice in shaping how this technology is developed and applied. But let's move on to the next area of concern highlighted in the survey, agriculture. I imagine there are some specific anxieties around the use of engineering biology in food production.
You're right. Concerns in agriculture often revolve around the impact of genetically modified crops on biodiversity, the potential for corporate control over the food supply, and the loss of traditional farming practices.
The idea of a few large companies dictating what we eat is definitely unsettling for a lot of people. And I can see how the introduction of genetically modified crops could disrupt existing ecosystems and threaten the livelihoods of small-scale farmers.
Those are valid concerns, and they highlight the need for a more holistic approach to agricultural innovation. We need to consider not just the potential benefits of genetically modified crops, but also their impact on the environment, on social equity, and on the cultural values associated with food and farming.
It's about finding solutions that benefit both people and the planet, not just corporate bottom lines. But there was one more application area that the survey highlighted, right?
Yeah.
Low-carbon fuels. I imagine there are some unique concerns related to that as well.
Yes, and those concerns often center around the potential for land use conflicts and the displacement of food crops for biofuel production. It's the classic food versus fuel debate.
Right.
We need to find ways to develop sustainable biofuels without compromising food security, especially in a world facing a growing population and climate change.
So it's about taking a systems-level approach,
Yeah.
recognizing that everything is interconnected. We can't just focus on solving one problem in isolation. We need to consider the ripple effects of our actions. And that requires a level of foresight and collaboration that can be challenging to achieve.
It's definitely not an easy task, but I think the fact that we're having these conversations, that we're grappling with these complex issues, is a sign of progress. It shows that we're taking the ethical dimensions of engineering biology seriously, and that we're committed to finding solutions that work for everyone.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've explored the potential benefits and risks of engineering biology, the public's hopes and anxieties, the need for transparency and regulation, and the importance of ethical considerations. It's clear that this is a field rife with both promise and peril.
And it's a field that's still in its early stages. The choices we make today will shape the trajectory of engineering biology for years to come. So as you continue to explore this fascinating and complex world, Keep asking questions. Seek out diverse perspectives and engage in the conversation. Your voice matters.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into engineering biology. We hope you've learned something new and that you'll continue to explore this topic with a critical and engaged mind.